Hey guys, my name's Alex Rondego, and I'm confident. This comment said I needed to be confident, so I'm gonna be confident. I don't even need to do a gully wash. You don't need to see anything for me to do a gully wash commentary. I could just have a picture of my hot dog in the middle of the screen. That's all you need. You don't need anything else. I can just narrate. I'm fucking Alex Rondego. I can do whatever the fuck I want. I'm fucking Alex Rondego, man. I'm fucking Alex Ron. Actually, no, we can't do that. That's a bit too much. But yeah, hi guys. Sorry, I'm not gonna be that confident. I'm gonna be my usual stupid self. This is our Gully Wash match versus TKD, TK Delta. This was a good game, and I'm gonna try to keep it more on the down low, on the hizzle fizzle, on the comwomulum bombulum, it's going to be another 40-50 minute game like my upward commentary. I'm going to try to keep it more relaxed and make my points a bit clearer. I don't want to narrate every little decision that I make and every little thing that I do. A few reasons. A, because I watched my upward commentary back and it's like I was talking so fast and points were getting jumbled up and bleh. But also, when I'm watching these demos, I can't see the scoreboard a lot. I can't see the scoreboard. And I don't remember exactly who was playing what class on their team. So Venom up there, Azoth. I don't know what those guys are playing, for example. So for me to talk about exactly what picks we got and exactly the advantages that we had, it's going to be a little bit tough. So I'm just going to try to keep it slow and keep it simple and, just we'll relax and we'll have some fun with this. It's Gullywash. What's there not to like about Gullywash, But yeah, I mean, Gullywash is not a map that I necessarily, I don't hate it, but I'm not a big fan of it either. I've gotten used to it as we've scrimmed it. It's not a terrible map. It is what it is. It's a map, Maps have points. CP's not bad either. I don't mind CP, but, yeah, this first round, actually, we're going to end up capping last year in just a second. This is a really quick push, and I'll talk more about how we're pushing mid, how we're pushing second, how we're pushing last, and defending all those points, too, later on, because this is going to get repetitive throughout the, throughout the whole video here. The one thing to point out, though, is that notice when we're pushing last, me and usually our Pyrozeki are pushing under like we just did, and this first round it worked really, really well. It's a nice strat, and that's while our combo pushes River, by the way. So let's talk about mid pushing. Our team is going to push right side, which is usually a more aggressive push. We're going to go up to their choke in an effort to cut it off. Like I said, it's a bit more aggressive, but like if you were pushing left, the name of the game is still getting players spread out, taking ground, and making sure that you're getting on the point. The more aggressive teams on Gully will tend to be dominant. Now, this is going to happen 2 or 3 times during this game, where I just completely violate Heavy 101. I need a citation from Kresnik or Dill or Pretzel or someone to tell me to stop doing that kind of stuff. So I saw the sniper was at big door, and I knew that he was there. Like, you can look back, I was contesting him actively. I don't know why. I guess I was just praying that I could force him back. I was too far away to do anything. And he killed me. Whatever, I'm not going to make that mistake again, I hope. I might have to eat my words in a little bit, but... So, the issue at that point, you die at mid, they take mid, and on a CP map like this, you have to be really careful about the ground that you have and the ground that you allow them to have. There are pros and cons to both sides, and essentially what's going on now is we're making sure that we have a really solid hold in lobby, because if we had gone into contest second, we probably would have bled a lot of players one by one. They could have rolled through, taken lobby, and probably had a really easy last push too. And you don't want to allow them, just because they've taken mid, you don't want to allow them to come in. So if you look back in the video, I was one of the first in lobby. I stayed there and I was solid, and I made sure that my team could snowball around me and we could really form a good defense. I'm going to talk a lot about being solid in this commentary, because CP maps, just IMO, much more than payload maps, you need to be really solid, and especially for heavy, because unlike payload where you have individual points and it's easy in payload, upward or bad water, for example, to say, third point, this is where this person holds, this is where that person holds, and that, you know, third point, you draw that hard line, and that's your hold. It's easy. It's a meta. It's a really hard meta. On CP maps, you kind of do the same thing. You have mid holds, you have, you know, second holds and first holds, last holds, whatever. But because you're both kind of pushing against each other, as opposed to an attack-defense situation like payload, you have to draw those lines yourself. So going back here to the demo really quick, notice where I'm holding. This is a pretty standard spot to hold in Gully, up on this kind of side ledge up here, staying on the high ground, staying distant. It's ideal when they're pushing river like they just did, and also like we did in our first push when we took that first round. Because you're distant enough, and you have the high ground, and you can get a lot of work done, and you're a big threat when you're there. And I was lucky enough, if you go back and you looked at my positioning, I was forward by Shutter, and I was actually able to hold down Shutter and main and the balcony. Basically every entranceway that's forward, that's not the exit to river on the right there. I was able to hold that down. If their combo pushes through Shutter, and they might do it a little bit later in this video, that's when we gotta get out and book it. But, you know, that spot on Gullywash is really powerful for a heavy, but the trade-off is that you need to be careful, and you need to be ready to back up if they start, you know, coming through Shutter, coming through balcony. If there's a soldier or demo bombing you at last, you need to be ready to back up. So again, because we had such a solid lobby hold, and therefore a solid last hold, we were able to absorb their attack, and now we're contesting mid. That's why it's important to make sure you draw those hard lines and establish good defenses. The main way that you do that when you're heavy is by just, you know, not dying for the most part. Good positioning is a big part of it too, but not dying is is pretty important. IMO, you know, I'm a cool kid, and that's what the cool kids say. Shido's a good spy, I've heard. That was funny. Missa, your sentry gets a gold star. Yeah, that's a good sentry, and I don't remember her putting a sentry there. I'm not sure if she moved it, but level 3s on this map are pretty powerful if used correctly. Anyway, I feel like I'm going to like CP maps this season for these commentaries, because these kind of moments, these stalemate, you know these moments, you've seen them, you know, that's all the commentators talk about when it's stalemate is, this is so stalematey, man. It is. I mean, this, you know, that especially Gullywash, but, you know, a lot of CP maps are like this. Process and all the other ones, and you know what I'm talking about. So, going back to the point that I made before of being solid, notice that what I'm doing right now, my main goal, I'm not trying to get picks, I'm not trying to go for anything stupid, I'm not trying to be a hero. Avoiding hero plays and being dependable and alive for your team and protecting them, that's what being solid means. And in these moments, even if it might be boring, you know, it's not the most fun staying back and not really doing anything besides just kind of holding and being ready for the push. It's boring, but it's really, really essential if your push is going to be successful. So great job on for their pyro pushing us back. Remember that you can surf air blast now, whereas before, I think it was the gunmetal update just recently that changed air blasting so that you could surf the air blast now, which for the all of the life of TF2 before that, air blasting kept you kind of in a particle beam, where once a pyro air blasts you, you're just kind of on a trajectory and you can't strafe, you can't move from it. The pyro, you know, the pyro was able to push us back, and I was able to stay out of drop down. You want to avoid that if you can, pushing through choke. If the pyro tries to push you to drop down, try to avoid that, because if you go through drop down, you have a long way to walk back up to get to your combo, and it's not a fun situation. But again, the stalematiness is not that fun. But the way that we're pushing in, notice how I'm going in last. That's pretty important for Gully, because the enemies, this is such a big area, you can't do a whole lot if you go in first. It's just that simple. That was an unfortunate push, because as soon as we came out, we had popped on our pyro, but our demo got sniped. and the sniper was over on the right by rocks. You saw where he was, and there wasn't a whole lot we could do about that. They kited the Uber, and they came back in, and it was just kind of a mess for us. But again, this this kind of thing is going to happen on CP. It's just the nature of the game. If you start to get pushed back like that, remember, the other team is doing exactly what you're trying to do. They're trying to push back. It's a constant reverse tug of war, almost. It's a push of war, kind of. Shut up. So when you get pushed back, it's not a huge deal. Remember when we lost mid, or I don't know if we lost mid, but we got pushed back to our last a few minutes ago, like I pointed out, and it's really, really important, especially for you as the heavy, even if you're not a main caller, even if you're not the team leader, just with your health pool and your close range damage, all the fundamental stuff, you are pretty much, the class to go to when it comes to having the team get back together and coordinate and draw that hard line in the sand and say, okay, we're holding this and we're not letting go. I died to that heavy while I was talking, and that, I think I mentioned this in the Upward game, in my Upward commentary, but I want to say it again because I think it's really funny. That was me falling for exactly what I said in my Upward commentary, which was, people just don't hear the minigun until it's too late. I don't know why. It's so loud, but it's white noise, and you just don't notice it until it's too late. I didn't, I heard the minigun before I went in to contest that heavy, but I fought him anyway. Why? I'm stupid. I don't know. And I died. I paid the price, and that heavy he almost wiped our entire combo, I think, because we just, we didn't hear him. Oh my god, Shido again. Shido again. If you noticed in the kill feed, he killed pretty much our entire combo, and they popped in, and that's just a hellish situation for us. Notice they're taking second, but you saw that I just saw on our spectator cam. I forgot who's first person I saw that through, but I saw that they're flooding into last. So what that tells me is, okay, as soon as I spawn, I have to just start revving up right away and just start getting damage out right away. If you're in that kind of a situation where they're coming in as your team is spawning and you're going to have a really, really clutch hold, this was not that much of a clutch hold. There are definitely more clutch holds out there. Where the other team is really flooding in and you're really trying to get on top of them. Once you spawn, it's like, yeah. In those kind of cases, again, don't worry about getting into the right position necessarily. Just worry about pushing them back so you can get your ground back. As soon as you get out of spawn, as soon as you see somebody and you're in a decent position, start spinning up and just start shooting. Because if you don't, and you start running off to try to, in the same way I mentioned in my Upward commentary, where I talked about this in terms of eating a sandwich, I said if you're pressed for time and in a really tight situation, sometimes it's best to not, go out and look for a place to eat a sandwich. Just eat the damn sandwich, Same thing here, when you're spawning in those clutch hold situations. So this was, again, this is just kind of the nature of 5CP, where it's just awkward sometimes. We used Uber to try to contest lobby, and I honestly can't remember why we weren't able to take that. I think we lost too many players. I'm not watching the kill feed so much during this. I'm focusing more on the points that I'm trying to make. So I think it's because we lost a fair amount of numbers, and also their medic got out, which was a huge deal, and I think we realized that we weren't going to be able to get him. One thing I want to point out here, so our soldier just came in. He attracted their attention, and notice how I waited a few seconds before I peeked out to try to do my own thing. If our soldier wasn't there, I would have jumped into balcony and just right away gone to try to, get something done around that corner. But when a teammate exposes themselves at a place like that, it's good to wait a few seconds to at least give the other team the chance to forget that anyone's there. Make them think, oh, the soldier was there, but now he's gone. We don't need to watch that balcony anymore. Give them that few seconds to forget before you suddenly come in. Because remember, you're slow. You're ambushing is, that's part of ambushing. Ambushing is part of ambushing. Man, I'm intelligent. But yeah, it's a good rule of thumb. If you're, trying to play a corner or trying to get the jump on somebody or trying to be sneaky beaky like, if they know that you're there, it doesn't work so well. So if a teammate exposes, you know, blows your cover on your behalf, like the soldier did, sometimes it's best to wait a few seconds, let them forget, and that'll work out. So here, I noticed they're all at big door here, and I'm trying to contest. They're gone, I see a sniper, and that's when you gotta book it. Was that their sniper? Hang on a second, where'd he go? Let me look back at this. I watched this this demo once through before I started this commentary, so I was kind of familiar with what I was saying. I didn't do that so much with the upward lobby. I did that with maybe the first half. Did I say upward lobby? Upward match, or pre-game scrim, actually, to be exact. Third time's a charm. I backed out before. I thought that was their sniper, but I guess that was ours. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's all a blur. Anyway, compose yourself, Rendigo. You need to be confident. So once again, these kind of stalemating moments, notice how I'm really trying to be solid. I'm not trying to go for hero plays. I'm not trying to expose myself too much. The demo and our sniper are really the only two classes that are spamming and trying to get some damage out and all that good stuff. But me, mostly I'm just waiting for the push. You heard that heavy just go down to our sniper. That's what happens when you peek sometimes, so you gotta be really careful. Their heavy goes down, we decide, you know what, they lost enough manpower that we should be able to push in and take mid. This is an interesting situation. Their whole combo minus their heavies on the low ground. And we need to take point. So what do? Well, they're coming up. They're not contesting me directly and I have 60 health. I figure since they're not focused on me, I'll eat my sandwich. Mainly because they're too far away to do a whole lot with. And I thought that if I could cap mid, you know, that would be enough to put them in a really awkward spot. It would make them scatter, and we could kind of kill them off one by one and regain our ground. And essentially that's exactly what just happened. You saw their heavy was a big door. He died. Our sniper's on nipple. That's really funny. The heavy died at big door. He was by himself. The medic was at rock. Our rock. He died by himself. The demo was at our choke. He died by himself. The soldier was on our mid. He died by himself. There are certain cases where these kind of... I call these stupid plays. Because they are. But they're stupid in such a way that when they work, the whole point is to make the situation awkward enough for them that it kind of screws them up. You know, there's a lot to be said, and it shows, I think, in my playstyle a lot. It's always how I've played heavy. Playing in such a way that's unexpected, that catches people off guard, because that screws them up, and you can take advantage of that. But, again, the trade-off, you can't just kind of do whatever you want and hope that it works. And I'm not saying that every stupid play that I make is... like, it is calculated, and it is right, and I am confident. It's some stupid plays that I've made. Like, again, remember I contested the sniper before? That was dumb, and I can't defend that. I'm not going to do that again. I'm going to try, but I'm going to try not to do that again, I mean. But some of it's dumb. But if you have the ability to make a stupid play, and it's calculated, and you have that quick decision where you say, well, I'm going to try doing this, and if it doesn't work, I die and we can probably manage. But if it does work, it's going to screw them up. And that's what I said to myself when I decided to cap mid and not help my sniper. You know, it's probably not that ethical to sacrifice our sniper for my own stupidity, but, you know, we'll leave it there. I'll tag Podgy and we'll see what he says about that. But anyway, so you notice that was the second time this game that we've pushed last, or tried to push last, and I went under, just like we all did, and they had this excellent play where their flank pushed us out on point and under, and their combo contested us, you know, at main, and they were able to basically wipe our team. Oh, Mrs. dead, that's very sad. Died to a sniper. So we basically wiped, they took second. This is kind of like the situation before, where now they're rolling forward, and notice how far back I'm playing. We have a level 1, I can see in my peripheral vision, you know, we've got teammates here, we've got some help, but if I had gone any further up, I could have gotten sniped, I could have gotten bombed, I could have very, very easily got surrounded, because remember, the farther up that you are, each step forward that you take is another step that you would have to take to go back if you decide to back out. So therefore, the further back you play, the safer you play, the more solid you play in those situations, the better. And again, I know it's boring. I'm on the same road all the time, but if you can find ways to make it fun, and the way that it's fun for me, it's partially because I'm a main caller, and the stuff that comes along with that is, you know, the keeping track of advantages constantly, keeping track of our own team and our positioning, and paying attention to calls. All of that stuff keeps me occupied during these kind of lulls while we're not doing anything. But you don't have to be the main caller. You don't have to be a team leader to be useful during these holds. I'll talk more about this in a second, about the being useful during downtime, because it's a really important point. But let me illustrate this this second push for a second. Second push for a second. Get it? Pun? Bad pun. We had popped into second. And as soon as you see how far back and how passive they're playing, that's when you need to be aggressive in response and really take control. We killed a lot of their players coming in, and I don't know if you noticed before, but Zeke, the fucking legend, wiped their combo after I pushed them back through their main. When they were wiped, I had made the call and said, guys, just rush in. They're dead, and they're not going to spawn in time if we just go right in. So when you talk about keeping yourself occupied if you're not a main caller, keeping yourself occupied if you're not a team leader, or you're just kind of on the sidelines and you're playing heavy and you're in this boring position where it's like, ugh, I'm just staying alive at this choke point. This is boring. Heavy is boring. Heavy sucks, man. You can still be really useful. And the way you can be useful, first of all, number one for me is just, you know, spinning and just having a basic understanding of situational awareness and what's going on around you. Just keeping track of who on your team is alive and dead, you know, who's playing where, but most importantly, who's covering what. And part of this goes into map awareness. I'm not going to talk too much about this right now, but when you're looking at a map and you're saying, well, how can I play this map? At a really basic level, you know, you don't need to worry about every corner, every nook and cranny. At the basic level, you just kind of say, okay, what places can you get through? You know, what entrances are there? There's a shutter here, there's a main entrance here, there's under to point, there's a river that can give you access to under, and you just kind of go through, you say, you know, who can be where, who covers what. So, for example, if you're talking about this lobby hold, I could talk about mid, but I'm rambling a lot during this. I really should be focusing on the live stuff here and the micro, but screw you, it's my video. I'll do what I want. Say it's lobby hold. We're holding lobby, whether it's ours or theirs, whether we're getting ready to push or we're getting ready to fall back or whatever. I'm just waiting until I actually get in lobby to make sure it's a little bit clearer. Best sandwich throw. So if you're holding lobby here, again, the first thing that I'm looking for when I'm trying to play solid and trying to work with my team is I'm trying to find out who's covering what. I can see my snipers covering the main area. Our demo and pyro have balcony and shutter there. I'm just looking at the window to see where their combo is. And I'm gonna, you know, RNG's looking down here. I'm kind of just looking for somewhere to hold right now, or somewhere to keep eyes on. I go up to river here to check to make sure we have eyes on that. And this is not so much a heavy's job as much as it is a main caller's job, or just me being information hungry, I guess, and making sure that I'm situationally aware. And I'm kind of paying the price for it. Yeah, I have no idea what I was doing there, actually. I have no idea what I did. I don't know. I have no defense. I'm just dumb. I'm stupid. But again, part of playing solid, and one thing that will help you stay alive is when you're drawing that line in the sand, when you are holding somewhere, when you get to your team and you're snowballing together and you're getting together and you're trying to play solid. One thing that really helps with that is, again, looking around, not just for spies, not just checking your corners for flanks or whatever, but also just finding out what your own situation is, finding out where your team is holding, what bases are covered, who's watching what entryway, and you don't even have to, you don't have to keep tabs on every single one, every single teammate, every single entrance. It doesn't have to be that complicated. All you have to do, if nothing else, is at least be on the lookout for an opening. Be on the lookout for a hole that your team has not plugged, and either plug it yourself until someone else does, or get someone else in there to plug it. And when I say plugging a hole, I'm talking about, you know, for example, lower lobby here. Our pyro's down there right now. We're kind of watching it already because we're here. But, you know, shutter, I'm plugging shutter right now. I'm plugging that hole. I back away because, well, we're about to push balcony. Or not balcony. I'm losing my mind. I only left shutter to do this push, but the reason, you know, push under is because we're plugging this hole. Not plugging it so much to prevent them from coming in and wrapping around us. Sometimes that's a threat. But in this case, plugging the hole because, you know, it's one extra pathway you can take when you're pushing. Making sure that when you're attacking, making sure that you're taking advantage of, you know, separate pathways and separate flanks. And when you're defending, making sure that you're plugging those holes is important. And when you're heavy, if you can find the right holes, this is going to turn into a sex thing really quick. I gotta calm down. When you're looking for those holes as a heavy, and you're just foaming at the mouth because you can't wait to get to those holes. I'm turning this into a sex thing. What the fuck am I doing? My point is, find a hole where your team might be vulnerable, where you're thinking, even if you just have a little thought, like, oh, you know, a spy might be able to get through here, or a scout might rush through here, or when they push, you know, they can kind of trickle in through this XYZ area, whatever it is, and do something. If you're close to that, you know, maybe plug that hole. And if you're constantly looking for those holes to plug, I'm not saying you personally as a heavy need to go around and be rotating and plugging every single hole. But if that's something that you can take under your wing and manage, even if you're not a main caller doesn't have to call, I want this hole plugged, and I want this hole plugged, and I want that hole plugged. A main caller can do that, but he doesn't have to. So one way you can be helpful, and one way you can entertain yourself and keep yourself occupied during these lull moments is just be on patrol for that kind of stuff. Almost like in the airports. If you see something, say something. I know if you're American, you know you've seen those in the airports, assuming you fly. Which, if you don't, I don't blame you. You're not a bird. You're a man. Or a woman. Or some combination of the two. I don't judge. To quote, I saw Kinky Boots a few weeks ago, or a few months ago, to quote that Broadway play, men, women, and those who have yet to make up their minds. So anyway, I just want to point this out really quick. Our combo had called that they were pushing shutter, and I did not hear that, which I thought was funny. I had gone to do my usual river push, and once I realized that they were pushing shutter, I kind of said, whoops, fuck, and I went in, and luckily enough, I was able to jump up. That's a really nice jump, by the way. If you are pushing river, that's a really quick way to get on the high ground. Look back in the video if you forgot what route I took, but as soon as I came out of river, I jumped up to the left and got on the high ground. And the sentry was gone, and we got the scout on the point, and everything just worked out all hunky-dory. It was nice. So this rollout, in contrast to most of our others, this is the more passive, just overall passive rollout. For you, actually, as a heavy, it feels more aggressive, because what you want to do when you roll out we call it elbow, and the smaller one with the wood is ramp for us. Like, I'm in their ramp right now, and when you push to your own choke, like we just did, the main thing you want to do is, plugging the hole that is their ramp. You want to get forward and spam their sniper and be in that narrow area so you have some cover in that you're plugging that hole. And notice how they were kind of huddled at their choke. Once again, because this is CP and it's so volatile, the main priority right now is to just be solid. We've capped mid, and we don't want to. We saw that they were still alive. They may have popped Uber. We may have advantage, but we need to take a minute to work all that out before we even try to push again. You know, the more experienced you get, the faster these transitions will happen. So don't get too bummed out if you're sitting here like, guys, if you get that feeling, especially on something like CP, that feeling where it's like, guys, we have to do something. God, can we please do something? Can we do something? Honestly, that can be a pretty destructive feeling, and I feel like the people who are most vulnerable to it, ignore this, the people who are most vulnerable to feeling that way and getting frustrated by that are those who get bored. I think that tends to be the heavy. It tends to be the pyro also, who's just kind of usually running around behind the team going and just looking for a spy mindlessly. I'm not saying spy checking is mindless. That's a different topic. But the point is, it's a way to keep yourself occupied. And don't, that feeling is self-destructive. I'm bad at commentaries, okay? I'm going to go to the second part. Roll film, cut film, display film. Fuck the okay. So remember how I said I watched the first half originally before I did this commentary? I watched the whole half hour to get familiar with it. I didn't watch this yet, so I'm probably going to forget everything. But that's okay, because I've really been talking broader stuff anyway. So again, I'm sorry that this is not how to play heavy on Gullywash. I'm hoping that a lot of that is displayed through just the gameplay here, and that'll give some examples. I'm not going to try to illustrate, this is not Heavy's guide to Gullywash. Commentary. I'm bad at commentaries, I know. I'm just going to accept that. If nothing else, it's entertaining. So, a lot of our combo was hurt there, and we got, that's not lucky, but we did get lucky that for some reason their scout did not come in. I assume that he didn't know we were all extremely hurt. That scout that was a choke could have very easily come in and taken out, I had 30 health, our demo was half health or lower, I think. Our medic was really hurt, we were all just trying to get healed, it was chaos. In those moments, again, I can't remember what happened in comms at that point, but it's important to recognize when your team, not just you, but your team is hurt. If you're hurt, there's a good chance, if you're with your team, there's a good chance that they're hurt as well. So it's a good idea to kind of do a quick 1 second, just look around and say, if I'm not the only one who's hurt, then I gotta back up. If you stay forward in those situations where your whole team is hurt and needs heals, and you stay forward and you are in constant danger and you force your med to heal you, all of those heals that you're getting are heals that the rest of your team is not getting, and health packs can only do so much. So, again, just to make it clear, because again, I'm not talking about this, because we have so much downtime because of these stupid stalemating moments, but when you're hurt, it's a good idea to look around and see if your team is hurt. If your team is hurt, again, back up, be solid, be dependable, stay alive, and allow your medic to heal the rest of your team, in addition to you. Hell, if you're not hurt and they're hurt, you can maybe get up to full health, and if there's a small or medium health pack nearby, you throw a sandwich down to get another teammate healed up really quick, you go and you get the health pack to restore your sandwich, and it's a whole big thing, and yeah. So anyway, this was the first big door push that we did during this game, and I think that's because we just kind of wanted to break the monotony. Speaking of breaking the monotony, that made me so sad when that turned out to be a spy, but I decided to, again, I'm trying to plug these holes on offense, and that was one that I had not practiced, and because they knew exactly where I was, and, it was no surprise, they were able to snuff me out really easily, so that didn't work out. That was, that was my fault. If you're gonna make plays like that, it should at least, I didn't really know what I was doing so much when I tried to make that push. I had an idea, but it was half-baked. I didn't have a lot of time to formulate something. If you're gonna go for stupid plays like that, and I'm all for it, you know that, go ahead, do what you want, because the pirate is free. If you're gonna make stupid plays like that, and your idea is half-baked, and you're just kind of going for a risky thing, at least have some idea of how you're going to get out if things turn sour. My idea was that if they started to stump me out, I could easily get out through the lower shutter, lower lobby. But if you look back at the video, I got juggled by the demo, and I couldn't escape. Had I not been juggled by the demo, I would have backed out and gotten out with the Fist of Steel. But again, make sure that you have an escape plan, which you can't physically have because you're not a soldier, but you can mentally have because you are a heavy prod. I need like a rainbow, spy. I need like a rainbow, one of those rainbow pins that says gay pride, and I need to cross out the gay and write heavy. And then cross out the heavy and write gay again. But here, okay, so we're holding lobby, and I had died. I forgot what I died to exactly. I think their combo had gotten a bit aggressive, and I paid the price for that. I honestly, man, I do these commentaries. This is not something I'm used to, so I'm really trying to pay attention. And it's all the, I'm pressing tab, and it brings up my net graph, but not the actual scoreboard. And that's just how demos work, so. I noticed nobody was really watching lower lobby, so I went to plug that hole. And once again, it's about drawing these hard lines. It's like once you get to a certain point, it's not just about holding a certain area. It's about knowing what your team is doing, knowing what areas are covered, knowing what holes are plugged in, what holes are not plugged in the moment, and being aware of your own team's situation. Because if you know what your team is doing, you know if you can push, you know if you're vulnerable to their push, and you can make some really, really good decisions. Again, not just as a main caller, but just being informed is a huge deal. So again, they expected this under push. This is kind of an awkward spot for me and Zeke, our Pyro, because they know that we're here. But again, notice how, not just because I was hurt, being hurt was a big part of it, but once again, I stayed back, gave them a few seconds to forget that we were down there, and Zeke was down there with me. He was not exposed, so we gave them a few seconds to forget, and that's when you start going back up to make your move. If they see you when they back up, if you run in as soon as they back up, they're expecting you to follow them. So give them a few seconds, make them forget, and then make your move. I really gotta, man, I repeat things a lot. So again, I saw the sniper, I learned from my mistake, and I'm staying behind the crates so that I don't get sniped again. The crates are awesome for that. They're actually there to prevent sniper sight lines, mainly as far as I know. So then again, keeping yourself occupied, I'll talk about that death in a minute. I should have been that far forward. But keeping yourself occupied when you're kind of just in a spot like that, you're defending yourself. You're in a passive position. You're not really doing anything, so what do? Well, if you look back at the video, or if you remember, I keep saying look back, if you can't look forward because there's crates in front of you, turn around and look for spies. It's a mid-fight. The spy's going to show up at some point. And I turned around and there the spy was. Keeping yourself useful in any way, maybe for some people, everyone's going to think about it differently. And for some people, I'm sure, maybe a good way to approach it is, if you're finding yourself in a lull and not really doing anything, maybe it's a post Uber and, you've traded Ubers or something like that, and it's even, and you're like, well, okay, let's get back to building, let's hold, and you're bored. Maybe the first question that you ask yourself is, well, what should I do? And sometimes you default to, let me check the scoreboard, let me just look around and see where my team is, let me, at the same time, let me do some spy checking and just keep tabs on who's where. So using the Fist of Steel there to peek in mid with the Fist of Steel. Using the Fist of Steel to peek mid with the Fist of Steel. Did I mention I was using the Fist of Steel? I didn't want to extend out any more than I did because I saw the sniper was there. I was mainly just peeking to see if the sniper had backed up. Which I wouldn't have gone in even if he did because, no one was contesting him. No one was shooting him or anything, so if he did back up, there wouldn't have been a reason except just to bait. Force us to come out and, make him get a pick. I'm at low health, but we just got Uber. I can't remember if we have an advantage here. I'm not really paying attention to that too much for this, but We pop in on me, mainly I think because we didn't see the pyro, or I didn't see the pyro, so I made a very quick decision. I said, pop in on me, let's go in. Because if the pyro's not immediately there, and you can get the jump on him, then you can do, you know, what we just did here, which is catch the pyro by surprise, and suddenly, before he can even try to air blast you, your whole team is just right in front, and the pyro can't do as much when your team is there already. I'm starting to get delusional. This has been a 40-minute video, something like that so far. Yeah, and the upward was pretty long too, but I don't know, I like doing these. These are fun. So again, for me, this is such an open area, and because we're in a transitional period, I remember I talked about transitional periods during my upward commentary. I was talking about how a team is most vulnerable during a transition, whether it's a push from one point to another, whether it is even in a post-uber, where you're just like from our post-uber where we capped second to taking lobby. That's a transition, and that's a sorry, that was funny. That's a point where you're vulnerable. The aggressive sandwich eating. That would have worked too if it weren't for you pesky spies.
What's that you say, Sonny? We have invisible technology.
I'm telling you, I'm completely delusional. I was rooting for Koishi here. I was saying, Cap Koishi, Cap Koishi. Aw, that's a shame. But again, I'm spending so much time being stupid, I'm forgetting how I died. I'm watching this 100% of the time. I'm staring at the screen, but I don't know how I died. Oh. I was going for, oh no I wasn't. I thought I was going for, believe 3 here. No, we were actually pushing, okay. Once again, part of the reason why this was kind of, yeah, that, just like my attempted lower lobby push before, even though it was coordinated with the team, again, my thought process is like, well, I'm going to plug some holes. Not only to make sure that they're clear so that we don't get wrapped around, but also to take advantage of the flank routes and take advantage of every little nook and cranny to really pinch them as much as possible. And the reason why that doesn't work a lot of the time, the reason why it didn't work during my lower lobby push, the reason why it didn't work there is simply because once someone notices that you're doing that, it's so easy to snuff you out because you're basically by yourself. You know, even though I was pushing with my team at the, you know, and by that I mean at the same time as my team in both of those cases, I was not with my team. So it's so much easier for a pyro or a scout to come in and 1v1 you and they can kill you that way. It's very easy for a demo to juggle you and kill you, like he did during my lower lobby push. And I mean, at least for this video, I can't. That's something that's just gonna have to. It's a map feel kind of thing. It's a team understanding. There's a lot of subtle, you know, nuancy kind of stuff that goes into a decision like that. Like, should I stay with my team during this push, or should I try to be sneaky and take a different route by myself and try to make that work? Sometimes that works really well, but by default, you know, just push with your team. It's more reliable that way. So that's it. That's GG. We're going to exec the UGC off in just a second, which will end the demo. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know. Again, I kind of rambled a lot more in this one versus where I was a lot more in real time, I think, for the upward. So I think I was a little bit more going on tangents for this one. So let me know if you thought the content of this was better, because I have yet to record my Asheville, and I'll be doing these. I'm planning on doing these for the rest of the season. So if you like the way that I did this as opposed to my upward, let me know, and I can definitely do that again for the rest of the season. DAT is currently just like a little diary and note section. DAT is currently, that's our team, is currently 3-0. We're in second place, and it's really an awesome feeling because we've been working for this for so long, and it's coming together. You know, we got a long season left to go. You know, the team's got a lot to work on. I've got a lot to work on, but we're having a blast in the meantime. And all of you guys who are watching this, I assume most of you guys are heavy mains playing this season. Good luck to you guys. I'm going to cut it off here. I'm not sure why the demo is still going. That's a little bit strange. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions in the comments, especially about little parts of this game. And I'd be happy to talk to you guys and clarify. Thanks for watching again, guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.